Balanced and unbalanced forces. I can determine if a force is balanced or unbalanced and calculate the net force. Starter. Student 1 applies a 10 Newton force to a wooden board in order to slide it across the table to student 2. If the force of friction resisting the student's push is 4 newtons, what is the net force acting on the board? So in this situation, you have two opposing forces. She's pushing with 10 newtons of force on the board, but there's 4 newtons of friction acting on the board in the opposite direction. When forces are in opposite directions, you subtract. So 10 newtons of force subtract 4 newtons of force would give 6 newtons of force acting on the board. That's your net force. Word definition picture. Practice. Forces are a push or a pull on an object, and it's measured in newtons. Net force. The combination of all forces acting on an object. Here, the race car is going to the right with 10 newtons of force, but the parachute is causing 10 newtons of force in drag. These forces are in opposite directions, so you would subtract. 10 minus 7 would give you 3 newtons of force. And the car would move to the right in the greater force. And this vector is showing you that it's longer in length, so it is the greater force. 10 is greater than 7. Balanced forces. When the net forces applied to an object is 0, the forces are balanced. So here you have a man pushing with 10 newtons of force to the right, and on this side a man is pushing 10 newtons of force to the left. They're both applying the same amount of force. They are in opposite directions, so you would subtract. 10 minus 10 is 0, so the net force being applied on the boxes is 0. Remember, vectors are arrows that show the magnitude and direction of the force. When they're opposite directions, you subtract. Balanced forces do not cause a change in motion. An object will remain at rest or remain in a motion at the same speed in the same direction. Your net force is 0 with balanced forces. Unbalanced forces change the motion of an object, causing the object to increase speed, speed up, decrease speed, slow down, or change a direction. The net force is not equal to 0. Unbalanced forces, the net force is not equal to 0. So here in this situation, the net force is 3 because we subtract when forces are in opposite direction. And again, the race car is going to move in the direction of the right because that's the larger force. Determine if the following examples are balanced or unbalanced forces. So number 1, a golf ball sitting on a tee. A golf ball sitting on a tee is a balanced force because the golf ball is at rest, it's stationary, it's not moving. The amount of force that's being applied to the tee is the same amount of force the tee is applying to the ball. Number 2, a boat sinking because of too much cargo. So here an unbalanced force would be taking place because we have a change in motion. It's increasing its speed as it sinks. A soccer ball being kicked. A soccer ball being kicked is an unbalanced force because the object is changing its motion. It's going to increase in speed. An elevator starting to move. An elevator starting to move is caused by an unbalanced force because we are changing its motion. We're going to go up with increasing speed. A stationary wagon is an example of a balanced force because the object is at rest. It's not moving. The amount of force the wagon is pushing on the ground is the same amount of force the ground is pushing up on the wagon. An airplane gaining altitude after takeoff is an unbalanced force because we are changing the object's motion. We are increasing speed. Balanced or unbalanced? What is the net force acting on this object? So here we have 15 newtons of force acting upward and 25 newtons of force acting downwards. Since these forces are in opposite directions, we subtract. 25 subtract 15, and we get 10 newtons of force. The object is going to move in the direction of the greater force, 25 newtons. Is the object balanced or unbalanced? The object is unbalanced because the sum is greater than 0. Will this object change speed? Will it increase or decrease speed? This object is going to increase speed in the direction of the greater force. What is the net force acting on this object? So the jack-in-the-box is pushing up with 10 newtons of force, and the cover is pushing down with 10 newtons of force. These forces are in opposite directions, so we subtract. 30 subtract 10 would be 10 newtons of force. Is the object balanced or unbalanced? The object would be unbalanced because we are changing the motion of the object, and the sum is greater than 0. Tug of war. Two people are playing tug of war. What is the net force? Again, these forces are in opposite directions, so we subtract. 50 newtons of force subtract 30 newtons of force gives us 20 newtons of force. Is the rope balanced or unbalanced? This is unbalanced because we are changing the motion. So the tug of war game is going to go with 20 newtons of force in the direction of the larger force to the right. And we are going to change with an increasing speed. Answer and record the following information for each diagram below. Calculate and record the net force. So let's look here. So we have 25 newtons of force to the right and 25 newtons of force to the left acting on this box. So since these forces are in opposite directions, we would subtract. 25 newtons subtract 25 newtons would be 0 newtons of force. These forces would be balanced because they cancel each other out. And how are the forces affecting the motion of the object? The motion of the object is not going to move because the forces are balanced. Calculate and record the net force. So we have 100 newtons of force acting on the box to the right, and we have 50 newtons of force acting on the box as well to the right. So when forces are in the same direction, we add them. So 100 newtons plus 50 newtons is 150 newtons. This would be unbalanced because we are changing the motion of the box. The box is going to move to the right in the direction of the greater forces. So it's going to move to the right with increasing speed. Calculate and record the net force. So we have 60 newtons of force acting on the box to the right, and we have 20 newtons of force acting on the box to the left. These forces are in opposite directions, so we would subtract. 60 newtons subtract 20 newtons would be 40 newtons of force. That's our net force. The forces acting on the box are unbalanced because the box is going to move in the direction of the greater force, with 20 newtons of force. I'm sorry, with 40 newtons of force. So how are the forces affecting the motion of the object? The box is going to move to the right. Water current pushes the canoe downstream, and paddles are pushing the canoe upstream. Which student has the best explanation? Explain. So Robert says the forces on the canoe are unbalanced. Okay, he's correct there because 20 subtract 15 would be 5 newtons of force, and that's going to cause unbalanced, a change in motion. And the canoe is moving upstream at a constant speed. So here he's wrong because it would not be a constant speed. It's an unbalanced force of 5 newtons downstream. I'm sorry, upstream, because that's the greater force. So Michelle, forces acting on the canoe are balanced. These forces are not balanced. They are not equal. We have a greater force going upstream. So that's incorrect. And lastly, the forces acting on the canoe are, I'm sorry, she said unbalanced, and the canoe is moving with increasing speed. Okay, that is correct. The forces are unbalanced because 20 subtract 15 is 5 newtons of force, and the boat is going to move in the direction of the greater force upstream. Okay, and then the last one, again, it's saying the forces are balanced, which is incorrect, because if the forces were balanced, the canoe would not be moving, it would be stationary, or it would be moving at a constant speed, and neither of those are true.